Hello, this is Joe Peters. Happy Friday and welcome to MOMFIT with Joe Peters and the Spanglish word, Spanglish, the Spanglish World Network and the H.E.R Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. If you don't have the app yet, please go to your app store in Android and iOS devices and download Single TV. When you are downloading, make sure to rate and leave us a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick in all the smart TVs since 2016. Welcome, happy Friday, 1 week before the US Thanksgiving. So, for everybody that is watching us, we are not going to have a show next week. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you take the time to take care of you and be grateful for all your blessings. And if you are not follow me on Instagram and Facebook, please go to Joe Unicorn Coach and follow me. If you have any questions, any feedback, any topic, any challenges about your marathon as a mom, send me a message. If I cannot help you personally, I will find an expert like Janet that will come to the show, and together we will figure out a way for you to win the marathon of motherhood without burnout, because that is our mission every Friday that we are together. So today I am super excited to have Janet with us. I am a big believer of this topic and how we can change the trajectory of our children based on how we parent. Janet is a licensed clinical social worker. She's also the author of a best selling book, Show Up for Yourself, a guide to inner awareness and growth, and is also a certified conscious parenting coach practitioner. She's also an advisor for Dr. Shafali Sabari, that is one of the conscious parenting leading coaches in the United States, and for her coaching institute. And she's also a certified hypnotherapist. She trusts that each of us have the ability to heal, and that all that you need is the right guide and tools to help you along the way. Showing up for ourselves as moms happen when we are able to reparent our own inner child. That is what she believes, and I agree with her. I'm super excited to talk about this. And from there, get an aligned and healed way to actually show up to our kids. Um, Janet is a passionate clinical healer, and she loves to help you to see how you can awake and develop a strong connection with your children and yourself. She also have a eclectic style that combines her years of clinical counseling, parenting coaching, and hypnosis. So she's all in our Manfred alley of a holistic approach, reinforcing that there is not one magical key that will fix everything, that everything needs to be see as a whole. Welcome, Janet. It's a pleasure to have you here. Why we don't start with your phrase? Every single guest in my show pick a phrase, and yours was a phrase from Annie's Nin, and the day become when the risk to remain tied in the bud was greater than the risk it took to blossom. Why that is your favorite phrase, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. I love this quote. This has been a quote that has been with me since my early 20s, so more than 30 years. I'm dating myself, but um, I found this quote when I was in the middle of my own healing journey. It was actually hanging on the wall in my therapist's office. And it had been there, and I never noticed it in all the months I'd been going there, and one day I turned around and there was this framed quote, and I thought, "Well, that's just where I am right now." I'm really scared. And I could choose to be scared and stay stuck and tight in this bud, or I can be brave and blossom. And so that was the path I chose. I chose to be brave because staying stuck was no longer helping me. And so when we have the awareness that we're staying tight in that bud and it's holding us back, that is our invitation to say, okay, I need to break free of this. It's time for me to bloom. Even though I might need to be braver than I've ever needed to be before, this is my time. So I don't ever ask anybody I work with, anybody I speak to do work that I haven't done myself. I know the journey, I know how hard it is, and I also know the rewards at the end. So that's a quote I live by.
I absolutely love it. And like, let's go now talk a little bit about your story so the audience can resonate with you not
Sure.
only as a coach and a therapist but as a mom. How do you move from that clinical work that is a lot more black and white by the text into this holistic approach of hypnotherapy and conscious parenting and healing your inner child as a toolbox to help a woman to blossom?
Yeah. So again, my journey has been about my own awakening. I had my own traumatic childhood, as many of us have. And the type of trauma we experience, I don't think is overly important to share. But what is important to share is our inward journey, because that journey inside to recognize the hurt parts, validate the hurt parts, reclaim the hurt parts in order to heal the hurt parts. That's what allows us to become what we are wanting to become, to be the person we want to be in the present moment. So we have lots of pain in our life. I had lots of pain in my life when my children were little. My children are all grown now, they're all young adults. But when they were little, oh my God, I was one of those moms that yelled. I look back on all the yelling I did. Ooh, and it hurts me to think about it, and because I know it hurt my children, but I just didn't know any better, right? So with all the clinical skills I had, I was already a therapist for many years. I still didn't know any better as a mom. And the reason I didn't know any better as a mom is because I was parenting from a very wounded place. And until I was able to see that and heal that, I just kept that wound open and I kept parenting from that place. So as I did my training in my professional career and I became a hypnotherapist in 2002, that opened me to a whole different world of understanding people and a whole different way of helping people gain insight and heal. And so I started um, immediately incorporating hypnosis into my practice, and I began working with a hypnotherapist to begin to heal from my trauma. And it took some time. But then when my youngest daughter was 11, I read Dr. Shafali's book, The Awakened Family. And that changed the trajectory of my parenting and influenced my career. I went even though I had because of the healing work I had already done before I found conscious parenting, my yelling had significantly reduced, but had not gone away. Within 2 weeks of reading this book, things really began to shift to the point where my daughter said to me after 2 weeks, "Mom, what is going on? Why are you talking to me differently?" Like, she noticed it. So the change was real, and that was just from me implementing some techniques and skills I was learning through reading. And it just that just began this snowball effect of transformation for me and then therefore in my family.
And I think that it's beautiful because one of the things that I love about your story is it reiterate and reinforce the concept that is not linear. And I think that that is where we as moms, we as women are struggling so much right now, because we have the Tony Robbins and all these male gurus that are like, yeah, pay me $10,000 and that's it. Your life is going to change. And if you do this, then you're going to have all these wins. And that may work for males, because I'm not going to say that that is not true. I'm just saying that that rhetoric of male energy telling you that one little thing is going to change all your life, I'm not seeing evidence of sustainable results in females. So I love how you are saying, yeah, I had to do this and then this and then this. And that is more aligned with the process of the journey of as we get better, then we expand. So I love, love, love that. Now, um, let's gonna talk a little bit about that part of conscious parenting.
Mhm.
Let's gonna start. I know that we are being having other guests here, but we have new guests, so I think that is always good to refresh what conscious parenting is and what conscious parenting is not. I think that
Mhm.
we are getting in the last 20 years a lot of boom of a lot of parenting ways. So what conscious parenting is and what is not. Let's gonna start there.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And what conscious parenting really want to start with what it is not, because I think that's almost easier. What conscious parenting is not, it is not a formula. It is not a how to. And some people just want steps. How do I fix it? What do I do? And that's not what conscious parenting is. So what conscious parenting is inner work. You see, and this is what people don't like. And this is why there's a lot of pushback with conscious parenting. And I'm going to push back on the pushback. Because if you want to transform the relationship with your children, if you want to transform the dynamics in your house, the first relationship that needs to change is your relationship with yourself. So the first person the parent needs to parent is themselves. So conscious parenting is first about the parent and then about the relationship with the child. Because as a conscious parent, we need to know ourselves. We need to know what our triggers are, and we could talk about that more at length if you want to. We need to know how to pause. We need to know how to reflect. We need to know how to actively listen. We need to understand what a natural consequence is, right? And so much more. Those are just like kind of five basics off the top of my head. But conscious parenting is deep work. It's not a prescription and it's not me telling someone how to do it. It is working with a coach, reading books, watching videos, really allowing the information to sink in, like I had to when I read The Awakened Family, and having these aha moments going, oh, I get it now. Oh, geez, let me go back and correct that. And that's what begins to make the difference. And the shifts will happen slowly. But the shift first happens within you because you see, this is another key. There's nothing wrong with your child. Your child isn't broken and there's nothing to fix. So when you can look at your child that way, that is a game changer. But that also means you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what within me do I need to address, heal, and take care of? So I'll leave it there.
And I think that that is so important, going back into that brainwash that we have now. That is what you are saying is we are so tired, so exhausted, so into burnout, that all the propaganda of do this course and we will fix the problem, aka we will fix your child. Either if it's tantrum, either if it's hitting, if it's biting, it's all about like follow this script and live a happy life. And I love how you were saying that we had it backwards. And that is just evil, disgusting marketing to take, I believe it, to take advantage of a deprived, sleep, exhausted mom that is at the end of her wheat and is willing to say, take my freaking money, tell me what to do, and fix this crap because I'm going to lose my mind. And I think that is
Mhm.
disgusting because, like you are saying, that's not the problem. And I love how you say, um, understand that your kid is not broken and that your kid is not the problem. I have a 3-year old. I was telling you of that in the green stage. And that is, and I want to talk about that because what you say is a journey. It's not like you hire Janet and then after 3 months of coaching, hocus pocus, now you are a conscious parent and nothing happened ever again. I think that is a lifelong journey, even with all that I learned. Every time I start, I like, oh yeah, that triggers. And one to talk about triggers, one thing that right now is being very clear in our household is I get so triggered and so infuriating to the point of I want to return the hit when my child hit me. Now, when my child take my glasses, my husband is completely opposite. He will not get triggered and he will not get explosive or anger if my child hit him. He can stay cool and calm. But if Elliot reached to my husband's glasses, the devil comes. And that is just a little bit of what you are saying, reinforcing what you are saying with examples into it's not Elliot, it's us because he's doing the two things to both of us, and each of us is reacting completely different to both things. So it's not what he's doing, is what he's doing bubbling up things in us that are making us say, ah. So we're
Exactly.
gonna talk about that triggering and how we can first know that it's a journey and that neither you or Jesus is going to give you a recipe to not get triggered ever again. But then also how we can start finding that triggering and how we can be better parents when we get triggered at what our parents were. Because I think that, like you were saying with the trauma,
Mhm.
a lot of what
Mhm.
I'm seeing in this generation is, and I think that that is why it's hard work that some
Mhm.
people want to just like say, like, oh no, just give me the pill, just give me the easy.
Yep.
Because I think that we are doing twice as much work as our parents and grandparents because we are raising them and we are still trying to reparent, like you said, like I say about what you work, reparent ourselves. So
Mhm.
it's freaking exhausting.
It is exhausting. So, I really don't like the word trigger. I use it because everyone knows the word trigger, but I actually don't like it because I think trigger allows us to blame the other person for what's going on within us. So I prefer to say we're getting poked. And so when we get poked by somebody, like that, like we feel that it's pushing against something inside of us. So when your son tries to hit you, he's like really poking a pain place within you. It's like waking a sleeping lion and you roar. So I don't want to, undo everything about you because you're interviewing me. But when someone gets triggered, that place inside that gets poked is an old place from childhood where maybe you did experience people hitting you or being violent towards you and you weren't safe. And so when your son comes at you in a normal 3-year-old way with his hands, or maybe kicking you with his feet, which is totally appropriate for a 3-year-old. Of course, we have to keep them safe and we have to be safe, but they don't have the language, so they use their body. Our own inner child, the one who was hurt in the same way, goes, no way, this isn't happening again. And she wants to retaliate. Right? Same with your husband and the glasses. That was his trigger, whatever it is, getting touched, something getting pulled off of him. So it's our work in that moment to do what I call in my book is called a purposeful pause. We have to recognize in the moment we've gotten poked. Now you have a 3-year-old, so you can't just walk away from him and leave the room and he needs eyeballs on him. But we can say, hang on, mommy's going to go get a drink of water. Mommy's going to go stand in the corner. Mommy needs a mommy timeout. And make mommy have a timeout. Like get a little playful with him. Get mommy's going to go take a timeout. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Put your hands down. Mommy's going to go take a timeout and go sit in the room and take a few breaths and tune in. What just happened within you? Where did you feel that in your body? Was it like a gut punch? Did you your chest constrict? Did your jaw get tight? Did you get a headache? Did your stomach drop? Are you nauseous? Whatever it is that's going on in your body. And then say, what do I need right now in this moment? What do I need just for a few minutes to take care of me? Okay, I'm safe. I'm with my son. Look at him. He's so cute. He's only 3. He's just upset. He doesn't have the language. I'm safe. And calm yourself down. And then we go back to the 3-year-old. Hopefully, they're not still flailing their body everywhere. If they are, it might take a little longer. We might need to like hug them if they not hug so super tight, but just hug with love if they let us. But if they've calmed down, they're very dysregulated when that happens. So we need to help them regulate their nervous system. But if we come out them dysregulated because we've just been like poked and woken up and crazy, they're going to get more dysregulated and we start screaming, stop hitting, calm down, stop yelling. But we're yelling, I'm sorry, they're going to get worse. So we have to calm down, take that pause, and then go back to them. Talk to them at eye level or below. Okay? Because this physiologically helps them calm down because we're big. And if we're standing over them like this, there's this big looming giant over us that's yelling, they're not going to calm down. So you have to get to their eye level or lower and begin to talk. Oh, mommy sees you're really upset. You really wanted that toy. You weren't ready for the TV to be off, and give them the languaging and what can we do now instead? And use your energy to calm their energy down. But if you're not calm, they can't be calm. So it's first to tuning into the self and then a connection to the child because conscious parenting is about connection, not correction. Connection will work, correction will, in the long run, hurt.
And I think that it's wonderful that you say like the intentional pause that is really challenging. And I'll ask you to give us some tips on that one. Then the other thing that I want to talk before that,
Mm,
that it was amazing. And I think that every mom that is listening us will nod her head is I believe that we sign a soul contract to grow.
mhm,
So the reality is there are things that my child does to my husband that he doesn't do to me.
mhm,
And I truly believe that is because he knows that he's going to get a reaction from my husband and he doesn't get that reaction from me. So for example, the glasses.
mhm,
He will take my husband's glasses out of 10 times, he will take my husband 9 times and only one mine because
mm,
the reaction is different. So I think, and that is like a lot of moms I hear like, oh, he only does that to me. He doesn't do that to anybody else. maybe it's because he's poking you in a sensitive place and he's saying, hey, it's time
Mhm.
to review this. I am here to help you to heal by exposing this reaction.
Exactly.
So I just want to see what is your opinion on that, and then how that can help us to get into the difficult time. I think that from everything that you said, the most difficult time is that conscious of stopping and pausing,
Yeah.
instead of the easy way that is, I'm gonna teach you that is not good, you are not being good, and all of that that
Yeah.
society is being taught in us that is the right way to raise our kids.
Yeah. Well, one of the philosophies in conscious parenting is our children are here to be our awakeners, right? So I was always a yeller, like I shared, and 2 out of my 3 kids were like huge temper tantrum children, like 45-minute, 90-minute temper tantrums, like unbelievable. And I wasn't prepared for it. When I look back, I know that that was there to awaken me to my pain of what I needed to heal, right? So you're right when you say we could call it a soul contract, we could call it whatever works in anyone's belief system. Name it what you want, right? There's no one name for anything. But if our children are here to wake us up to heal our pain, that is our work. And when we heal the pain, guess what? They'll stop poking that spot. So when your husband can look at what the heck is going on within him every time your son takes the glasses and he can heal that emotional wound, your son's going to stop taking the glasses. Um, and as far as the pause goes, that is the conscious work. You're going to mess it up, and your listeners, trust me, you will mess it up a million times before you get it right once, but then you're going to get it right once. And then you're going to get it right a second time. And then you're going to get it right a third time. And it becomes a practice. Now, for me, even though my youngest is 20 and she's away at college, but when she's home and she's in her bedroom down the hall and I hear her yell, Mom, like in that voice, the voice, everyone knows that voice. I still get that poke, but instead I go, be right there. And I take a minute and then I walk down the hall and I open the bedroom door and I go, what's up? Even though inside I'm like, oh my God, what's going to come at me? But I don't let her know what's up because I've taken that moment to just come into myself. So it's practice. Again, there's no magic. This is how you do it. I'm offering a skill, I'm offering a takeaway to your listeners. It's called the purposeful pause. I have a whole chapter about it in my book, but that pause is not for your kid. That pause is for you. That is your first self in parental self care.
I love parental self-care. And I was thinking when you were talking about like you will screw up and screw up and screw up until you do it good the first time, and then the second time, and then the 10th time, and then the 11th time you may screw up again and
Yes.
screw up for 2 3. So that is another thing that I love to tell my audience, and I thank you for this, Janet, and is you are not going to figure out for the rest of your life, because guess what, as you are getting better, your child is growing, and as they get in a different stage, they are going to poke not the 3-year old that was hit with a belt, but when he's 7, he's going to poke the second grader, whatever, that start wearing
Exactly.
glasses. So I
Exactly.
think that is a good lesson in what you are saying into it's not about perfection. And because one of the things that I see a lot with perfectionist moms is they start very motivated and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm trying, and they get it. And they at the beginning, when they're screwing up, they're like, okay, I'm being patient and kind with myself because I'm learning, but then they do it right, and after that they have zero tolerance, and then if after that they screw up again, they're like, I cannot do this, I screw up already, what is wrong with me, and then stop the process instead of seeing that it's a dance back and forth into. I love that you say that. She's 20 and she is still poke places of you that you are like, and I will pay you money that if that happened a day that you didn't sleep well and
Mhm.
you are hungry and you fight with a significant other, that day you might be saying, "What? That's not
Exactly. Yes,
um
yes, yes.
how I love that takeaway that you are saying into how you I love how you are presenting yourself as a coach, but more like a teamwork because that resonates with what I do too. It's
Mhm,
not like I am the guru and I'm gonna fix all your problems. Is hey, I'm gonna share with you some things that we can try, and you need to do the work. And I'm here to hold your hand and help you when
mhm,
you fail and stumble. But
mhm.
understanding that is a journey of practice. I love that.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's a journey every day of practice. Even my 2 children that don't live at home, if they text me with, "I'm having this problem at my apartment or my house," I wanna rescue everyone. I wanna fix everyone, and that's really the beauty of text messaging. I can pause, or I can type it and go, "Wait, no, 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 no. Take a step back, erase, and redo this because I can't solve the problem. I can just support." And you're right about the age of your child, because the other thing we want to pay attention to with conscious parenting is patterns. Okay. So things will happen in patterns. You may notice that, um, say you were in school and you got bullied in second grade. All of a sudden, your child is entering second grade and your anxiety is super, 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 super high. But your kid's fine. But you're so anxious about them starting second grade, they're not anxious. But all of a sudden, as the first day of school gets closer, your kid is getting really anxious about second grade, but they weren't 2 months ago. But that's because your anxiety maybe got out of control. And our children feed off of that energy, and then patterns will begin to repeat themselves. So if I'm working with someone and they're having a really hard time with their 9-year-old, I'm gonna ask them, "What was going on in your life when you were 8 or 9 or 10?" Because 'Cause I'll guarantee you something significant happened around that age, which is why they're having a hard time dealing with their child at the same age because it's too close to their own pain point. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, it's super important. That's why we have to know ourselves.
And I think that's a great segue for well, we're going to spend a lot of time, and hopefully I will
Okay.
be able to bring you back into this topic alone because I think that it's
Mhm.
huge. Is understanding ourselves. What happened to you when you were that age?
Mhm.
And then that is understanding our inner child. So what
Mhm.
is that inner child that a lot of people is talking about, and
Yeah.
how we can start understanding that inner child to do what you help your clients do, and is reparenting that inner child.
Yeah. So the inner child, of course, isn't real. It's metaphorically real. Our inner child lives inside of us. Now, some people say the inner child develops by age 7. I don't know that I 100% agree with that because I think we have multiple wounded inner children inside of us. And the way I look at the inner child is I think when we've come into the world, when we're born, okay, we're born pure, we're born whole, we're born untainted, without emotional pain. And so that true inner child is whole and complete. And she or he always lives inside of us, is always there. But the world happened. We're born into a family where there's arguing. We're born into a family where maybe there's just one parent and mom or dad can't do it all. We're born into a family that goes through a trauma where we learn, okay, if I'm quiet, I don't get yelled at. If I become a people pleaser, everyone loves me. If I get good grades, I know I'm worthy. So we begin to develop all these coping skills to help us survive those hard times in our life. And that's brilliant, right? We're really quite brilliant when we're little because with our limited developmental abilities, emotional abilities, what we're limited to based on the age we're on, we develop coping skills that work at that time. Okay. So I always like to use the example of being like a 5-year-old child and you fall off a bicycle and you skin your knee and you're bleeding. And 5-year-olds don't like to see blood on their bodies, right? So we go run, we run inside, mommy, mommy, my knee is bleeding. Oh my God. And mommy or daddy, whomever it is, I don't want to put a gender on the parent or the caregiver, says, oh, you'll be fine. Wipe it off, go play. And right then and there, that 5-year-old goes, oh, I'm not important. Oh, if I'm hurt, I don't matter. Oh, my pain doesn't matter. So now, fast forward 30 years, and we're 35, and we don't think anyone values us. So if we get hurt at 35, say I slice my finger and I need stitches, I don't ask for help. I yell at someone if they try to help me. I minimize my pain. So it's not my 35-year-old adult self in charge in that moment. Because you see, the unconscious mind has no sense of time. So when something similar happens in my life now as a grown up, that happened when I was little, and I developed a coping skill at 5, that inner child, that 5-year-old self goes, "Oh, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. This is how." And my 35-year-old self behaves, responds, reacts with the coping skills of a 5-year-old. And that's what messes all of us up. So we have all these inner children walking around in adult bodies trying to have relationships with one another and trying to parent real little children. So that is why we need to reparent the inner child. And we have to go back and we have to talk to that 5-year-old and we have to let them know, no, it was a big deal that you got hurt. And let's put a band-aid on the boo-boo and we're going to make it feel all better. And I'm going to hug you and I'm going to love you. And you're allowed to be in pain and you're allowed to cry about this. But now you get to rest because you're all grown up. And the adult self is going to help anytime there's a boo-boo. You don't have to do that job anymore. But most people don't go do that work because it's not easy. It's painful. You're gonna cry.
And I think that, and I don't know, I never thought about this way, but probably as more you struggle with your parenting in specific topics, I will say as deeper that inner child hurt is. So I agree with you. It's not a fun ride. And then also, well, I know that you are also a hypnotherapist, but a lot of the times you don't remember because things were so painful that you just block it. Like, um, I know there are many of people, but for example, with my husband had so many memories growing up as a child. I don't. If I have 3 or 4, like, I don't remember neither the bad, but also the good. Like, I just
Mhm,
don't. So it is painful and it
mhm,
is uncomfortable, and you're going
mhm.
to cry, and you are going to go into probably the 5 stages of grief when you start remembering.
Yeah.
But what will be the motivation? I want to hear from you, and then I will share mine. But what will
Yeah.
be the motivation to say, yeah, I'm
Because
gonna go in that road and it's going to suck and I'm gonna be full of shit until here, but I'm choosing to do it versus keep buying the hundreds and thousands of dollars of programs that will fix your kid, because then you can just follow the script, and when they are not fixed, then you are saying, oh, I did my part.
right,
This is on you.
right. When the pain in your present is interfering in your daily life, in your relationships, in your ability to work, in your ability to stay focused, if you're having flashbacks, if you are really sad all the time, really angry all the time, very dysregulated, not doing good self care, if the pain in your present is so great, it is time to choose you and say, okay, how much more do I want to live with this pain? Or am I brave enough, like I said at the beginning, to look at the past and deal with it? Because guess what? Whatever your past was, you survived it. You're never going to live through it again. But the painful events we go through in our life become trauma because we were never given a chance to process it. So, in conscious parenting, in the work that I do, we are giving people a chance to process the trauma. And when we do that, we get it out of the cells of our body. Why do we want to carry it? We get sick, physically ill. People get physically ill from emotional distress. And that's been proven more and more and more by the leaders in the field of trauma right now. So it's empowering to make the choice to choose you. And I know that's scary. For anyone listening, I know that's scary. And I know it's possible because, as you've been saying, healing is not a journey. Excuse me, healing is not a destination, it's a journey. And I also hate to tell everyone this, but there's usually not an end because we continue to live life. So there's always going to be new things we need to work on and heal and process through. So if you're willing to be brave enough to do that, you can heal and feel better and cope better and do better and improve your relationships, improve your parenting.
And I think that I completely agree. And I think that one other thing for some of the moms that are like, but I'm not brave enough to face that. One other motivation that I see is, how do you want your children's life to be?
Mhm.
What is the future that you want? Because that is something that a lot of us, I think that I don't know yet in 41 years somebody that told me, "Oh, I want to do and be exactly like my mom and my dad did because I turned out so amazing that I'm just going to follow it." Like, I think that everybody that I know is saying, "I'm not going to do that. I don't want my child to become like me." But then we don't go where we need to go. That is dealing with that inner child. So I think that a good
Exactly.
motivation is saying, if I'm saying that I want a different future for my child, then I need to walk the talk. And walk the talk means that I need to face that trauma, that I need to face that understanding. Janet,
Yes.
um, how do we know in this journey
Mm.
that we are making a positive impact in our children? Because a lot of the times we are working and we can be so much in the mud that we are like, I'm doing all this inner work and I'm trying here, and then the dad is like, is being worth it? Like, how far? Like, I love that your daughter was like within a week, oh mom, what's going on? But how do we know, as we start closing up, how do we know that we are making progress and that we are actually making an impact on that conscious parenting to impact our children's life?
Okay. So first off, get rid of every expectation you have. Okay, because that will be the demise of any progress. We can't have expectation. We can't know what the end result's going to be. When my youngest was 11, I didn't know how she would be at 20. But what I do know now, I can look back and say, if I wouldn't have changed my ways, she wouldn't be who she is right now at 20. So, A, release expectation. B, we have to live in the present moment. Conscious parenting is about the present moment. I'm not attached to the future outcome because I don't know what's going to happen when you and I get off this call, right? So I can't know that. But what I do know is right now everything's okay. Right now, in this moment, on this day, everything's good, right? Maybe I just had a connected conversation with my kid. Yay. Good for me, good for my child, right? We can't know. And so we have to release expectation. Expectation just sets you up for feeling disappointed or feeling like you failed. And that's not good. So when you can release expectation, oh, and release control, there's no such thing. It's an illusion. Dr. Shefali teaches that. That was a big lesson I needed to know. Control is an illusion. You talked about perfectionism before. Perfectionism is fueled by the need to control. So we need to let that go. That will help improve your relationship with your children when we release them from expectation and when we release our control. These are big things. I don't know what the future is. There's no way to predict it. There's no way to know it. And so I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, well, you'll know if you do A, B, and C that when your son who's only 3, when he's 13 in 10 years, he's going to be this. There's no way. How many mitigating factors are going to happen between now and age 13 that we can't predict? So we can only do the best we can do now.
I love that. And love that I probably the part of trusting that if I'm doing the best, and I love the one day at a time. If at the end of the day I was like, oh, I was able to make that conscious pause and didn't
Mhm.
react and take the time. It was a winning day. And then maybe tomorrow is not going to be, but today was. And that is a celebration. Janet, thank you so much for all this wisdom. You are an ocean of wisdom and kindness and compassion. I think that everybody should have a Janet in their pocket. Um, as we close up, why you don't share one last message? If you could just get one message to all the over 3 million people that are watching us through all the channels, what that message will be. And if these moms felt connected with you, want to hear more from your book, want to learn from you, how they can connect with you, how they can keep learning from you.
Oh, thank you. So I really want people to know that they're worth it. You are worth healing. You are worth investing in yourself. You matter. If you're a parent watching this, your children need you to heal because in order for them to grow up whole, they need a whole parent. So if you're looking for motivation to push yourself over that edge to the scary place, to look at your stuff, look at your children and look at that relationship because this is the beginning of the journey. No matter how young or old your children are, you can all improve the relationship with yourself and your kids and family members and coworkers and friends because it starts here. And if people want to reach me, honestly, the best way is through my website, janetphilbin.com. I am on Instagram at Janet underscore Philbin underscore ACSW. And my Facebook is Janet Philbin. I'm also on LinkedIn under my name. But if you went to my website, janetphilbin.com, you can access my book. It's on audio also. It's available pretty much anywhere you can get a book. So I would love to hear from your listeners and I'd be happy to connect.
Janet, thank you so much. Everybody go right now to her website at Janet Philbin, as is in her screen.com. Get her book, send her a message, and while you are in the computer, also, if you're not following me, follow me back at Joy Unicorn Coach. We both will love to hear from you. Send us a message, tell us what interests you, what resonates with you, because our commitment in this show every week is helping you to win the marathon of life, because like Janet said, you are worth it of living the life that you want. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.